This episode of Adventures in Alchemy is brought to you by the Moon and Magic Planner, 13 Moons of 2020. Plan on magic for 2020. Magic just doesn't happen. You have to plan on it. And this planner has plenty of ideas and spaces for creating magic. It celebrates the moons instead of the months. It follows the cycles of nature. It has pages to share your word of the year, your intentions, an oracle reading for the year. It also has spaces for your incantations, full and new moon rituals, working with waxing and waning moon energy, planner pages to script out your best year, and weekly pages that include the oracle of the week, along with magical notes, spells, and recipes that you may be working with, or experiments, right? And also you can track all of your magical habits here because these habits really build up our own connection to magic in the world. And it's just brimming with magical energy for you to have the most magical 2020 yet. How many times did I say magical? Too many. But go to the show notes and check out the link, or just go to www.dailyalchemy.com and scroll down to about the middle of the page and you'll find a big button that'll take you right there where you can see the brand new gorgeous cover for 2020. Hi, I'm Michelle Martin Dobbins, the creator of DailyAlchemy.com and the Moon and Magic Planner. Welcome to another episode of Adventures in Alchemy, where we share tips, techniques, and true stories to support you in using magic, witchcraft, and alchemy to right wrongs, heal generational wounds, create synchronicity, and re-enchant your world. I charm this podcast episode to be of service, to allow divine ideas to come through, and to bring value to all who listen. Now, on with the show. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about practical magic for your health. So I want to start with a disclaimer. I've always been a pretty physically healthy person. I am not a doctor, and I am not giving you health advice on this episode, okay? So always consult your doctor. Don't do anything crazy because of what you heard on a podcast, this or any other. Obviously, do not stop seeing your doctor. Do not stop taking medicine that helps keep you alive or healthy. Take personal responsibility and be really aware. And I don't plan on giving any medical advice. What I am going to give is 5 practical magic suggestions for you to play with to improve your health. But I do want to say a few words, and here's where I get into trouble, right? I want to say a few words about the real life work of being healthy. And daily alchemy to me is the fact that real life and magical life are intertwined. You know, they're like that little double helix DNA. Like they can't come apart because the reality that we live in is full of magic, whether or not we choose to see it or whether or not we call it something else. And that's totally fine. But for me, it's magic is part of the real life work of being healthy, but there is also that real life. And I think that we as a people have worked with nature and with our own inner healer. Like our body's natural state is health. And if you're not healthy, please do not take this as a thing to feel bad about. It's not, right? It's just, it is what it is. You are where you are. And we all just take responsibility for doing what we can where we are with what we know, right? Because like I said, I've been a pretty physically healthy person. And I didn't really do anything to deserve that. That just is kind of what got handed to me. And yes, I've done things to keep myself healthy as well. But, you know, if you're a person who has health challenges, that doesn't say anything about who you are. That's just some of the challenges that you got handed in this life. And, you know, that sucks because to me, health is just one of those things. And it's a big part of life. So I just wanted to give you my frame of reference because your frame of reference might be totally different, and some of the things I say may not have any meaning for you, but hopefully the practical magic suggestions will. But I personally, like as I'm going through talking about this, I stay away from conventional medicine as much as possible. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't post haste get my butt to a hospital or a doctor if and when I need it. that being said, I just encourage everybody, and I know like most of you probably do this, but I encourage everybody to just be aware that at least here in the US, where I live, a lot of our conventional medicine system revolves around making a profit. And sometimes we have really good doctors who have really good techniques for helping with a lot of things. And some medicines are really good and some are not. And so just do your research. That's what I say. I'm not an academic person. I have a BS in education. Yes, I am a BS. And two half a master's, but that does not even add up to a whole master's. So I do believe in science, but I also believe that science needs to be good science, right? So if you're concerned about something, or if you hear research that says something is like good for your health, or this is the thing that's working, especially if it's something important to you, like check it out. Obviously, we don't have time to go to all the research articles, but like if there's a research article that comes out that says Kellogg's cereal funded this research project, and it says breakfast is the most important meal of the day, well, take that with a grain of salt. Also, if you've never researched or read or heard about Dr. Kellogg's, the guy who created cornflakes, give that a Google. Just a heads up, cornflakes are supposed to curb the desire to masturbate. Yes, that's what it's all about. Oh, I'm sorry. The whole story is really interesting. And this Mr. Kellogg's, Dr. Kellogg's, he's the person who actually is the reason why most men in this country get circumcised. So you might want to read up on that. There's things that we don't know. We just take as the gold standard when they might have just been a marketing thing. And again, disclaimer, that comes from a person who intermittent fasts and doesn't usually eat breakfast. But I checked out all the studies and the research and read lots of books by lots of smarter people than myself. Anyway, so if possible, if there's something that comes out that says this is bad for you, that is good for you, right? Like that comes out every day. Like one day you should eat animal products, the next day you shouldn't. Eggs are good, eggs are bad. This is good, that is bad. Just be aware that I personally am of the opinion that there's no one perfect diet for anyone or way to eat. And so you have to kind of work with that, like with yourself and what works for you. But just be aware, like, don't jump into everything just because a study says it's good, because I am a big fan of science, but science can be done poorly and data can be skewed so that it looks totally different than it is. And I know you know this, but I just sometimes with medical things, I know myself, I've done things because of a fear-based reaction, because of something that I read or that a doctor told me that I didn't research. And then later I found out, maybe I would have chosen differently if I had researched it more. So anyway, if you need meds, take them. And I definitely would not suggest stopping them, or I wouldn't suggest adding natural supplements without asking your doctor if you have any serious medical conditions. But that's not what I'm going to talk about here anyway. But I'm going to talk a little bit about plants and stuff. So I wanted to make sure that we're on the same page, that you know that you should choose a doctor that you like and trust and do what they say, and also research. Okay, so let's get on to the fun. Practical magic for your health. And some of these things that I'm going to tell you are things that I've talked about in different episodes, not necessarily related to health. So let's just start. The first one that I really like to do is to do Reiki, and that's a healing system. So if you are a Reiki practitioner, you will know this. And if you're not, it's totally fine. You can do any type of energetic healing. And like energetic healing can just be looking at something and just intending and like visualizing the best energy and love into that which you're healing. And I haven't said that yet. So I would say I always try to do this with food when I'm cooking it for my family. For me, I work with Reiki, so I will draw Reiki symbols in the food when I'm cooking it. With water, I will also sometimes do that. Another thing that I like to do with water is, if you're familiar with Dr. Emoto, he did a study on water and he looked at the crystals and how they differed when there were words on it. So I've actually dealt with like putting Reiki symbols on water bottles before, but also like putting words on there. And that's what he did a lot of, was words. I'll try to find a link to that study for you for his work and his website. But if you have a health condition, you might want to put something on your water bottle that relates to that. Or you could just put healing, or you could put, high energy, or, pain-free body, whatever it is that you're wanting to manifest. Like writing that on your water bottle is a great thing to do. And one that I've recently been doing, I'm working with my kids on some healing issues, and we're working with taking some supplements for things with a couple of my kids. And so I've been sending Reiki to their supplements, right? Double dose of goodness for that. So you can do that. Like you can send love, send Reiki, pray over your medicines that they're doing, these things that you're putting in your body to help heal your body, do their best work. So that's the first tip. The second tip is earthing. Mama Earth. Mama Earth is so, so good for your health. If you can be outside and you can get part of your skin, be it the soles of your feet, the palms of your hands, or like as much of your body, as you can on the earth for at least 5 minutes a day, preferably more, that is awesome. And I know it's like sometimes, like in a lot of places right now, it's winter, that here in the northern hemisphere, and sometimes it's cold and it's hard to do that, and I get that. So I still think being outside, if you can bundle up and try to be outside a few minutes a day, is great. But you may not want to sit there and put, if there's snow on the ground, you're probably not going to want to sit in that, and I get that. So during those times of the year, you might want to, they have earthing mats and little like pocket earthing things that you can hold. To me, it's not quite the same energy as like the actual earth, because when I'm laying there, I'm just kind of visualizing like going all the way to the earth's core and just being totally, totally supported, right? But it's still probably, better than nothing. And I'll put a link in the show notes. There are lots of different places. One of the places that I like a lot, I can't remember the name of, but I will put a link in there for you if you want to check out some of their earthing mats. And they have the earthing mats can be kind of expensive. So they have like just the little, I'm wanting to call them pocket earthers, but that's not what they are. But they have crystals and little good stuff in them for your health. So if you're interested in earthing, there are lots of books about that. There is scientific research about that. Of course, you'll notice that a lot of the things that don't make a lot of money for someone have less research done on them, because it's not supported as much by people who want to make money off of the research. So always remember that just because there's not research doesn't necessarily mean that it's not worthy or it doesn't work, or, but there is some research on earthing, and there's some really good books about it, and just good things that you can read on the internet about earthing and how good it is for your health. And to me, that's not necessarily a magical thing, but I think it is, because I think they're all intertwined. Okay, so moving on, number 3 is working with patron saints or ancestors or any of your spirit guides, angels. I'm not a huge worker with angels, but I think Archangel Michael and Archangel Raphael are some good ones for health. So if you want to play with this, I would suggest just like, well, if you're working with your ancestors, I would consider, if you don't have an ancestral altar or haven't done ancestor work, I would probably do some of that. And then just like asking for them to help you change that vibrational patterns in the family history that might be affecting your health. And, I've seen really weird stuff happen with health with ancestor work. And so I guess that's why it's magic, because you can't say why things happen, but I've seen people get better, and I've heard stories from other people where people were healed of addictions and all kinds of things after not even necessarily they did ancestor work, but someone in their family did it. So it can be a very potent, powerful thing. And that's not saying not to do your health work also. But I think that goes with saying, like, all of these things that I'm telling you to do don't mean not to do conventional things as well. Saints, you can just Google like patron saint for ... whatever you're interested in working on health wise, or just patron saints for general health and see if one of them speaks to you. Also, you can do kind of a Google search like that on the angels if you have spirit guides. And I'm not going to go into real depths on this, but I feel like that's an interesting thing to bring in some of these allies to support your health. And speaking of allies to support your health, one of my favorites is plant magic. And I've talked a decent amount on here about plant magic. So I would suggest, though, if you have a health problem that you're working on healing or just want to keep healthy, like plants are awesome for that. And for like everything else in the world, plants are awesome. But do a little bit of research, find the plant that is good for the condition that you want to heal, or just see what you're drawn to. Like if you don't really have any health problems, but you just want to support your body, like just ask and do a meditation, or even kind of like a form of bibliomancy where you can take a book on plants and then just like ask, like, what plant should I work with now? And open a page, and what you get is what you get, right? So I like to do a lot of like plant dieting, taking in the plant on a daily basis. But before you do that, know yourself and know if that's something that you want to do. And if you want to do it, also doing a little bit of research on that particular plant and decide, is it safe for you to ingest, right? And sometimes it might be safe for me to ingest, but not you, because different people, someone who's pregnant, someone who has a certain health condition should not take certain plants. So make sure that a plant is safe for you to ingest before you start working with it. I like working with it as a tea or a tincture. But if you want to work with a plant that you shouldn't ingest, play with meditating on a picture of that plant or putting your water bottle next to a picture of that plant or the actual plant matter with the intention that the plant matter that the gives the vibrational essence off to, and that the water soaks it up. Or you can even do that with food, like set your plate of food on top of a picture of the plant or on top of a container that has the plant. So you can play with this in a lot of different ways. They even have a water bottle. I've seen that. I know you can put different crystals up in it, and the crystals aren't actually touching the water. So it's just kind of getting their vibrational essence. And so I think you could do that with plants too. But just obviously, if it's a plant that you shouldn't ingest, you want it to be one where it's like there's a separate container where the plant is there, but it's not actually getting into your water. It's separated from the water. So those are some things that you can play with on that. And if you want to go into more depth on plant magic, obviously there's lots of ways to do that, but you can check out, there's an episode on here called Clover Magic where I talk about some of my work. One of my main plant allies is clover, which is not something I would have wanted to choose. But now, like, I love clover, and the energy of clover has just been really special to me and I feel like it does a lot for my health, mentally and physically. And so, don't necessarily reach out for like this really exotic plant either. A lot of people I know work with poison plants, and I have dabbled in that. My daughter's really drawn to work with poison plants, but then when I started working with plants, I find myself working with more plants that are not poison, and I was like, well, that's not edgy enough at all. But sometimes we do better if we take a moment and realize that the plant that shows up for us and that can support us the most might not be edgy. It might be clover. It might be lavender. It might be something that seems really soft, but is still very powerful. So you can check out that episode. And also, If you're a member of the Premium Lab or you become a member, there's an experiment in there that we did on Plant Magic, and plan on adding some more stuff in there about plants since I've been working more and more with them. Okay, so moving on, number 5, and this is one that I talk about a lot because it's one of my favorite things to do, and that is to take a healing bath. This is something that's been practiced for quite a long time in history too, and it can be practical as well as healing, right? But so I like to fill my tub with a combo of Epsom salts and baking soda first. And you don't actually have to do this, but this is just like my favorite way of doing it. Like a lot of people might just take a baggie of herbs and stick it in their bath, and that's fine. But this is kind of my way of doing it. And Carolyn Elliott, she does a lot of classes and really cool stuff. And I think you can find her at carolynelliott.com. She's the first one who I heard call it an alchemy bath, and I always did just the Epsom salts, and she suggested adding the baking soda too. And those are both really health supporting. Most of us don't have a lot of magnesium, so Epsom salts baths are great. And what I do is I bought at a store, I bought some ice buckets, right? Like the little metal ice bucket thing that has like a plastic liner. And I just keep those filled with Epsom salts and baking soda. And they have a cute little scoop that's meant for ice. And I use them to scoop my salts and my soda into the tub. And since I do this, like usually several times a week, I'll use like 2 or 3 scoops. Like sometimes you could take a whole box of like Epsom salts and a whole box of baking soda and dump them all in if you want to do it that way to get a lot of that in there. And then I usually add a little bit of some type of oil, like almond oil or something, just especially for me in the winter. My skin gets dry, so I like having that. That's just a total optional thing, as well as the Epsom salts and the baking soda. They make it nice. And then I either add a few drops of essential oil. And so, how do I choose that? Sometimes I choose it based on a health condition that I've looked up, or sometimes I just intuitively, I have a lot of essential oils. To be honest, I use lavender a lot, and then I use rosebuds a lot. I buy other dried herbs and things whenever I'm trying to do something in particular. I haven't tried, but it's on my list to actually try a bath and put some of my dried clover that I picked this summer and dried from my parents' land into the bath, because I've tried about everything else with clover. I've made clover tincture, I've made clover tea, I've made clover syrup. And then with the fresh clovers, I made clover cookies. So I'm running the clover gamut. So I definitely think that I need to add it to the bath one time and see how that affects me. But just if you're dealing with essential oils, always be careful that the kind that you put in is okay to have in a bath. Some are not. And so just do a few minutes of research on that before you start dropping it in the bath. Also, one thing that I like to do, like if I'm going to put dried herbs, I usually put them in like some kind of baggie that will let the water flow through, but not let the herbs go everywhere, because I've done that before and it's kind of hard to clean up. And if you have like tea bags, herbal tea bags, that can be fun. Like you can just stick like a lavender tea bag in your tub, or a chamomile tea bag in your tub, or, a couple of ones. I get a lot of tea, and there is always a link in the show notes to my Amazon affiliate page. And I use Buddha teas a lot because they are organic, and I'm pretty strict about, and this is kind of like the physical health part. I use organic tea almost always, unless I'm traveling or somewhere out and I can't. But I usually even bring my tea bags with me when I travel. But tea to me seems like something that could pick up so many pesticides and stuff. And I've just read some bad things about things that can get in your teas that you don't want to actually steep in hot water and drink. So highly recommend that. So that's one of my favorites. I won't go off on a huge tangent about tea, but I have my favorite herbal teas that are organic and non-herbal teas that are organic on the Amazon affiliate page. So I'll put a link for that in the show notes. And one other thing that you can do, like when we were talking about working with your water bottle with the plant Magick, if you're doing a healing bath and you want the vibration of something, you can also throw in crystals too, but they have the same thing as the essential oils and the herbs. You just need to make sure there's something safe to bathe in, and also that it's safe to put the crystal in water, because some crystals might start to dissolve and some might give off things in the water that you don't want. So if you want to put something in your water to get that vibration of that, but you don't actually want to put it in the water, you can put it in a sealed container, a plastic bottle, a glass jar with a lid. Just make sure it's sealed tight and it doesn't actually get into your bath, but you can put that into the bath to get the vibration of the energy from that matter, be it a plant or a crystal or whatever, into your bath. So that's another fun way to play with that. And crystals are another great practical healing magic. You can Google and look up just about, there are crystals that are good for lots of conditions. And always then you got your nice clear quartz that is a lovely thing too. Okay, so one more that I want to share with you is a little healing visualization that I like to do involving the 5 states of matter, or the 4 states of matter and spirit, however you like to look at that. So I'm just going to walk you through that. So if you're sitting somewhere right now where you can do this, you can close your eyes and do it. Obviously, if you're driving or walking your dogs, you don't want to do it. You can just listen along and you can come back and do it, or you can do it yourself. It's really, really simple and easy, and you can do it at any time. So if you want to participate now and you're in a safe place, close your eyes and sit somewhere. And then I want you to visualize yourself sitting in the ground, probably sitting comfortably, cross-legged, or however's comfortable for you, in one of your favorite places in nature. And just get comfortable there. And then we're going to ask the element of fire to burn away all that does not serve your physical, mental, and spiritual health. And just notice how the flame feels. It might be cool, it might be hot, it might be somewhere in between. Look at what color it is, but you don't have to worry about anything. These things, just notice. And then as fire finishes burning up all that you do not need, all that does not serve your physical, mental, and spiritual health, we'll now ask air to come in and blow away all that does not serve your physical, mental, and spiritual health. And this may be a hurricane-level wind, it may be a gentle breeze, anything in between. Just sit and notice and feel the air and feel what it's doing to take away those things that no longer serve you. And now we'll ask water to come and wash away everything that doesn't serve your physical, mental, or spiritual health. It may be washed away with a gentle rain or a heavy downpour, or you may be instructed to pour water over yourself from a nearby stream or the ocean, or go stand under a waterfall. Whatever comes up for you is perfect. Just let the water wash away everything that no longer serves you. And now, seated back in that spot, in your favorite place in nature, ask the earth to absorb all that doesn't serve your physical, mental, or spiritual health, and draw it down into the core of the earth to be transmuted or eliminated. And just take a second to feel the lightness after you've let go of those things, those energies, whatever was around your body that did not serve you. And finally, we're going to ask Spirit, that essence of prima materia, to call to you all that will serve your physical, mental, and spiritual health. And I just want you to feel all of that energy, all of that life source come rushing to you and assimilating into your being all that you need for perfect health. Okay, so that's the simple short visualization. That's a fun one to do, and you can do that every day if you like it. Or you can just do it when it pops into your head if you like it as well. It's a good one to do on a regular basis. And if health isn't something that you're totally focusing on right now, you can work with this with other things like abundance or love or what connection, whatnot. I think health is a good a good thing. It's a good base support for all of us, something that we need in this life. The more health we have, the better that, or I guess the easier that life can be. Okay, so your experiment for this episode is one, to pick one practical magic tip to support your health and do it daily or at least weekly. Like if you decide you want to work with plants or you want to work with doing baths, you might want to only do that weekly, and that's fine. Do what works for you. And then find one physical thing to support your health. Maybe you need to go to the doctor and just get a physical. Maybe you need to find a new doctor because the one you have isn't like vibing with you or listening well to you and what you're saying. Maybe you want to add exercise or a change of diet or add a supplement. And as I said, with the magical part of our lives being so intertwined with the physical part of our lives, you might want to meditate on what this new thing would be and see, or just notice, intend. Like if I say find one physical thing to do to support your health and you're like, what would that be? I don't know what that would be. Then just set an intention that you'll get a sign, that the synchronicity will come in and show you what that is. And so maybe you'll go and you'll open Facebook and there'll be an article there. It sounds good after I just warned you about these articles. But there might be an article that tells you about something that's good for your health. Or you might be walking down the street and you might see a sign that says yoga and it makes you feel like it's speaking to you. Just be open, be aware, look at what's going on in the world around you, and intend to see synchronicities and receive guidance, and you will. And always, always, always remember to use common sense. Work with a doctor you trust when you need to, and supplement with practical magic when it makes sense to. All right, so let's all be good descendants, future exalted ancestors, and let's live magically in the now. And I'll talk to you on the next episode.